Good morning. We are on the record. Today is Monday, December the 2nd, 2024. This is the Cosmetology and Barber Examiners regularly scheduled board meeting. My name is Roxana Gamusio, and I am the Executive Director. I will turn the introductions over to our chair, Ms. Becky Russell.
Good morning. We'll call the meeting to order. Do we have any schools participating? I don't know if we might have some telephonically. If you'd like to stand and tell us your name.
Destiny Cox with DCI Academy.
I'm Ashley Glenn with A&A Nail Academy.
All right. Welcome to you all. Roxana?
Thank you. Yes, I will go ahead and do roll call to assure that we can proceed and that we have quorum members when I call your name out. If you will unmute your button. Remember that with these wonderful savvy microphones, when the button is on red for more than 4 members, the next one can't have it on, so just push it off again. But at least for roll call vote, I'll make sure to look up and catch you all. So we'll start with Mr. Perry Baldwin.
Present.
Thank you. Anita Charlton.
Present.
Thank you. Monica Lemons.
Present.
Thank you. Judy McAllister. David McElreath.
Present.
Marquise Martin. Mr. Moran is not here with us today. Lane Petty.
Present.
I think several members still have it read. Once you've finished, go ahead and unread yours. Thank you. Becky Russell.
Present.
Thank you. Amy Tanksley.
Present.
Thank you. And Tamika Turner.
Present.
Thank you. And members, I would like to introduce everyone to our newest board member, Mr. Javi Wise. Welcome.
Present.
Mr. Wise is taking the place of Ryan Timmons, and he is going to be filling the spot for a Master Barber member. So we really appreciate him being here and everyone here, especially right after the Thanksgiving holiday. So the next order of business before we go ahead and get started is any individuals that are from the public participating virtually. The agenda has been posted, of course, to the board's website at least a full week in advance. Those members will be able to raise their hand if they're on Teams or sign in at the back if they're here in person. And we will make sure at the end of the meeting when we get to the new items to give them an opportunity to speak about anything that is on the agenda. We may have to limit that to 3 minutes depending on how many individuals we have. So that is my last order of business. On the agenda, and this is the last item I will do, Ms. Russell. If everyone has had a chance to look at the agenda, I would need a motion and a second if we can proceed with the way it's been presented.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by David McElreath and a second by Lane Petty. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or with changes? Thank you. Hearing none. Ms. Russell, I will turn it over to you to make sure I haven't missed anything before we proceed.
I think we can proceed.
Thank you. The minutes from the October 2024 board meeting were also emailed to all the members. If you have any changes and amendments, please let me know. If not, I would need a motion and a second to accept those minutes and post them to the website.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Lane Petty and a second by David McElreath to accept the minutes from October as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you, members. We are on your iPads on the presentation section. We're going to start with our new schools. The first item is A&A Nail Academy. If you'll give me just a minute, Ms. Ashley Glenn is here in person. When you speak, it'll have to be read, and then you give me just a minute. Thank you. You have before you, this is a new specialty manicure school for nails only. The application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, catalog, and contingency plan were all received timely. The school is located in Memphis. Ms. Ashley Glenn is here to answer any questions you have. Ms. Russell, I will turn it over to you.
Welcome, Ms. Glenn. Can you tell us a little bit about your school?
Well, it is a new manicure program.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
And I need to push this. No,
you can.
okay. Okay. Well, my name is Ashley Glenn, and I am wanting to open a new manicure school in Memphis, Tennessee. It is a 5-month program. I don't know what else you need to know about it.
That's good. We just
Okay.
wanted to know a little bit about it. I would like to congratulate you on very meticulous paperwork. Thank you so much for that.
Thank
That was
you.
wonderful. I have just a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's see. How many students do you plan on enrolling?
Like right away or,
Just in general.
well, my goal is 20
Okay.
to start.
According to your blueprints, it looks like you've got some limited salon equipment. I just wanted to make sure that you understand that it's one set of equipment per student. So just have that in mind when they're working out on the clinic floor. And then under your refund policy, and for us, that's on page 12, you give a refund policy, which is fine, but you never say, like you say what's going to happen if it's before they enroll or up to 30 days, but you never say what would happen after 30 days. And it doesn't really matter to the board what you say the refund policy is after 30 days, but if they are enrolled more than 30 days and they request a refund, then what would happen? If you'll just add that statement in there.
Okay, okay.
And that's all the notes that I have. Anyone else?
You said add what will happen if they want a refund after the 30 days?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And again, it's not up to us to tell you what the refund policy is after that point, but you only have, up until 30 days. And they will obviously be enrolled longer than 30 days, so.
Okay.
All training will be done in person, or do you have a hybrid or?
In person.
All in person, okay. And will you have I think I took a note on it, but I wanted to know if you were having the instructor program or I
No,
may have.
ma'am.
Okay,
No,
just the
ma'am.
full nail.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yes.
Can I ask a question? Is it okay right now to ask a question? Okay, you said about the instructor program, but if that was later, I can just, okay.
The instructor program doesn't have equipment, so we wouldn't even
Right.
need to inspect technically. Some of the schools upon renewal let us know that they've added it, but that's not a problem.
Okay.
And this is a manicure specialty school, so all 600 hours will be done
Yes,
at the
ma'am.
school?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay.
There's a motion and a second to approve. All in favor? All right. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, the next item starts on page 27 of your iPads. This is Art of Locks Training Academy. It's a new natural hair styling school. Ms. Latora Spearman, I believe, is on Teams participating virtually. She's there to answer any questions you have. The school is located in Memphis. The application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, contingency plan were all provided to the board timely. This is an apprenticeship-only school. Ms. Russell, I will turn it over to you.
Who did you say is on participating with us?
I'm sorry, Pearl, I might not have. Ms. Latora Spearman. Ms. Spearman, can you hear me?
Morning.
Welcome, thank you.
All right, Ms. Spearman, would you like to tell us a bit about your school?
So my name is Latara Spearman. I am looking to open a natural hair school, also located in Memphis, Tennessee. My purpose is to train and educate on hair and scalp health, solely focusing on natural hair. I think that's about it so far.
All right. We're going to start with a couple of questions. First, I always like to know whenever there's an apprenticeship school opening, do you have a relationship with some licensed professionals to send these students to?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. Um, in your paperwork, you do have it listed that they can have up to 150% of the time compared to a traditional student. If you had any traditional students, it appears that they could complete in 6 months. So this could technically allow you to give them up to 9 months to complete, so they can have 150. It looks like to me that you've got them, you're saying that they could have an extra 1.5 months, but they can actually have
Yes,
up to 3 months. That's a business decision for you all, but
9 months?
that she could give up to 9 months if she chose to.
yes,
But
ma'am.
just throwing that out there in case you did have somebody that needed some extra time.
Thank you.
All right. Somewhere in your paperwork, I read, for us, that's on page 35, if you all wanted to look at that, that you have state board prep instruction 1 day a week, and this is after they've taken their theory test and while they're
Yes, ma'am.
performing their practical work in a salon. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Would they be receiving hours for that?
Yes, they will. They'll receive additional hours for that.
Keep in mind that apprenticeship is 50% of the hours, which is all the theory hours are done at the school. The theory exam has to be passed, and then the rest of the hours are practical. In some cases, schools help with the preparation for the practical, and the students come in to make sure that they're ready for it. But then that is not additional hours. The total hours for the natural hair is 300 only. That might be because you had originally thought of traditional students coming to your school?
Yes, ma'am. My apologies. So yes, it's no additional. I do apologize.
Okay, so, we're not saying that you can't help them prepare for the state board, just that it can't be like 1 day a week that you're giving them hours that they're not working in the shop because of the way they have enrolled as an apprentice. Then they need to be an apprentice at a shop. I did not have any further notes on this.
It does say that you'll be hybrid online with your students in addition to the classroom.
Yes, ma'am. And I also will make it within the first 150 hours.
Say that again.
And I will be able to make that within the first 150. Yes, only for some theory.
Hybrid for theory.
Hybrid for theory. That would be just active, like on a Zoom or,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. What do we call that? Synchronous? Is that the term?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I have one question or one correction, where it says the floor plan for the description, the floor plan description, it says that the school is 1,800 square feet. Is the actual school 1,800 square feet, or? I'm just trying to get
Or just
clarity around, like, is the full unit being used for the school, or is there a particular part of it?
no, it's the salon and school included.
Okay. And then,
Can I interrupt you? I'm so sorry. So the square footage cannot count the salon. This is an apprenticeship-only school. So What is
Okay,
the
so
square
the-
footage for the actual school? I guess it would be Ms. Turner's question.
Yes.
My apologies. 300 square foot for the school.
Okay, and so I would just ask for that to be corrected so that, and it's always just to have it clear cut and clarity for the students. When they come
Yes.
in, they know like, and also when state board the inspector comes out, they know what part is being used for the school.
Yes, ma'am. I'll make a correction on my
Yes.
papers, and I'll send that right in.
Yes.
Yeah.
I make a motion with the said changes to accept.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this school with the corrections. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Congratulations, and you can talk to Ms. Roxana about further steps.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Ms. Spearman.
Congratulations.
Thank
On the floor plan, since you will be revising it, please make sure the classroom has to be separated from anything else. So just make sure that that's also caught in the floor plan you're clearing up, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, members. We are on page 63 on your iPads. This is Caviar Beauty Institute. It is a change in location. Ms. LaShawn Thompson, are you on the call with us? Ms. Thompson, are you on the Teams call with us? Okay. Ms. Russell, I will leave it up to you. This is a school that's been already operating and needing to do a change of location. It's an apprenticeship-only school located in Memphis. Floor plan, enrollment agreement, contingency plan, and catalog have been presented. As of 7 this morning, when we started setting up, I didn't have an email from her, so I don't know if something has happened. So I will leave that up to you if she would need to be represented, or you can vote and review everything, and then I can make sure to connect with her for any updates you might want. I'll leave that up to you.
So she's just changing where her classroom is located, essentially?
Correct, she's moved completely, yes, but it is just a classroom and
Do we
apprenticeship.
know how far?
I do not.
Okay.
It wouldn't, I mean, it's within the area, but I did not Google the area. That's something that our prior chair always got the mileage of a move, and I get that, but technically, it isn't a requirement. It's just to be courteous for the pending students. I also don't think she has any students at the time that are still. I think most had wrapped up before the move.
The school is in good standing?
Yes, ma'am.
I had made a few notes, and I'll just go over those with the board members. There are a few holes in what she sent us, and I'm not sure when the approval went out last time, if these were there at that time. I feel like we would have caught them. But even upon approval, I would prefer that she has these changes if we choose to approve her today. The first one being the contingency plan. Basically, her contingency plan says that they will just flip to online and that's it. She gives no, I'm always like, worst case scenario, everybody falls off the face of the earth, then what happens? She has no contingency with any other schools in the area, so I feel like she needs to figure that out for her students. So working on the contingency plan. Also in the description, and that's our page 90, she describes all of the different disciplines. I said it was on, yeah. She just describes all the disciplines, and cosmetology is an okay, it's an okay description, but in aesthetics, it looks like it's backwards. So it looks like she's telling them that they have to be an apprentice with someone first and then take their theory course. So that could be confusing. The nail course doesn't mention theory or practical, so I'm just not certain that this is really clear about what they're offering. The natural hair practical appears to be like it's all online. So I just think maybe she needs to clean up these descriptions and make sure that they understand that they are taking a theory class, taking a theory licensure exam for the theory portion, and then going on to work as an apprentice somewhere.
And Ms. Russell, she is on.
Okay.
Can you hear me, Ms. Thompson? Has the lobby popped up already?
She's not on, I'm gonna make a motion to table.
We're going to see if we can let her in or what's going on, because
Okay.
everybody else has been able to get in, but she did send me an email, so.
Okay.
There we go. There you go.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. I have been on the entire time. So, it was trying to say, hey, I'm here.
Okay. Okay, first, let's
so-
back up and let you tell us a little bit about your school then.
Ma'am, so I have been, because you couldn't hear me, I was also watching. So let's back up and thank you for allowing me to get on. So let's start with the location. I'm moving next door.
Okay.
And on the enrollment agreement and on all of my paperwork, I describe what an apprenticeship program is. And it says to allow students to obtain 50% of the required hours in theory and 50% practical. And I also mentioned everything about the apprenticeship program. And it is clear on my enrollment agreement that they do the 50% theory and then take the exam, as well as go on to the practical mentorship and then take the practical exam. So it is clear on here. Is it anything I could do to help you? That's on page 1 of the enrollment agreement.
So I'm looking at the very last page that we have, and I'm not sure, there's not a page number on it for.
It's the catalog.
It's the
Yeah.
catalog. It's in the catalog. So it
And
says
not the
programs offered at Caviar Beauty Institute at the very top, and then number 1, Cosmetology Apprentice Program, and it gives a description. And cosmetology, the description is okay, but as the descriptions go down further for esthetician, nail technician, the descriptions are not exactly correct or could be confusing. The aesthetics program, it appears in your description like they would actually go out and do their practical first and then do the theory. So if you could model each one of those maybe after the cosmetology description, the description is much better in cosmetology. I just feel like those descriptions are a little confusing.
Yes, ma'am. And they are very descriptive on the enrollment agreement. On the contract, it is written out line by line, and I can definitely get the advertising catalog updated as to match what the enrollment agreement has. But I clearly understand what you're saying, and we'll fix that. That's no problem. Thank you.
All right, the next thing that we had asked about, or that I had asked about, was the contingency plan. It doesn't say what would happen if this school ceased to exist altogether. So we would like for you to have a contingency plan, allowing the students to know other schools in the area that they could go to.
Well, on my contingency plan, what I'm looking at in my enrollment agreement, it is showing that I have relationship with schools and they will be properly onboarded there. And if in the event that something happens that Caviar Beauty Institute cannot provide services any longer. So
Perfect.
I
Can you
do
tell us
have,
what page that's on?
yes, ma'am. Let me look through it. It is definitely on here. I apologize. Let me read through. I have about 22 pages on my agreement. So, and yeah, I just wanted to make sure it's clear. Tracking contingency plan. 1 second. Emergency action plan. It talks about how I will communicate it and I have teach out emergency plan and partnership connections to connect students with partners.
I see it.
And
It's
okay,
on your page 12. I had looked
ma'am,
at
page.
the school contingency plan at the very top of page
Okay.
11, and I thought that was your entire contingency plan.
Oh, ma'am.
So I did not see that you
Yeah,
had
I
the
thought
relationship.
under that tab, I have it all spelled out. Follow-ups, how we would
77.
continue learning, and how I will partner with another school, and that is in place.
Okay. Um, so you have one small room. There's no square footage requirement for this particular type of school because it's an apprentice school. However, you are offering a lot of different types of education. Can you tell me how that works?
Surely. So I have the room is small. It's 800 square feet. It's just I drew it on there. It's just a diagram because I can't draw. And there's a break room, and as you see, there is a restroom area. Very ample space. Everything is very viable. And your question was, how did I want to split up my theory courses? Well, right now I only have cause.
Okay.
And in the event I have the apprenticeship program for aesthetics, they would stagnate days and times for in-person meeting. And that's definitely understood that they're coming in at different times on a stagnated schedule. And did that answer your question?
Yes, so will you do synchronous learning with them on their alternate days?
Absolutely.
Okay. And you will have the staff to be able to support all of these different programs going on at the same time?
Yes, ma'am. In the event that I add these on, well, when I add these on, they will have an instructor for each individual um, discipline, and we will definitely, very viable for the students.
Okay. Do you all have any questions?
I'm always just kind of want to just be aware, like with all of the disciplines, like you just said, with one classroom, approving all of the disciplines, in advance, like just making sure that they're not commingling, in the same classroom, and just making sure that the instructor and the owner understands that. But I'm just always kind of on the fence when it comes down to approving so many with only that one space. And then just it not being spelled out in the catalog how that would run. So that's my piece.
May I answer that question for her, please?
Yes, please.
In the space that I have, that is my lease space, that it belongs to me, I do have different rooms to add on the disciplines, so they don't have the same theory classroom. I just put what I'm operating right now with the cause, and I will definitely make sure, one, they're separated, and they're not commingling at all. So there's ample space. I have 1,600 square feet that I can operate business in. I just gave you what I'm operating right now.
Right, and so with that, the board, we would need to see that, full square footage, or do we still approve, even though we're only seeing the 800 square feet?
Right now, I know she's only been cosmetology, though. She has a woman's living. Is that correct?
So.
In any case, because it is apprenticeship and there's no set square footage, I think as long as, when we inspect, it's a classroom and it's clearly, separated, that probably wouldn't be an issue. We wouldn't re-inspect because there's no equipment or services offered to the public,
Okay.
if that helps. What the board might be asking for, though, is for the enrollment agreement to kind of spell out that
Yes.
staggering. I think you made a great point, which
Yes.
would be Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays, it's cosmetology. Aesthetics would be offered in the future, Thursdays and Fridays, whatever. That could be spelled out, given, Ms. Thompson, that you're planning on growing. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and I do have it filed for when that happens. I just don't have that enrollment right now, but I have it readily available.
Ms. Thompson, perhaps on the student enrollment agreement directly under where they check the full-time or part-time, maybe you could put a class schedule there. You're enrolled in cosmetology, and on Mondays, you're going to be in a theory classroom, and Tuesday through Friday, we're going to be synchronous, or whatever they would be required to do. Maybe put that schedule under their full-time or part-time enrollment area, just so it's on the agreement. They know exactly what they're agreeing to when they sign the enrollment agreement.
Yes, ma'am. And I have it available just to plug it in. I just only had cards at the time, and so that's why I just put what was applicable. But I thank you, and I will definitely insert it.
I'd like to make the motion to approve the change of location.
Second.
Well,
have a
thank you so
motion.
much for your.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations, Ms. Thompson. I hope that you enjoy your short move next door.
Thank you so much. Take care. Enjoy the holidays.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, members. That takes care of our schools. The next item of business under the appearing before the board would be our 2025 CE providers that are requesting dates for our instructor courses. And so this is possibly the first time for several of you being new on the board. We go ahead and review the material as well as the agenda and the dates that these providers are asking for to make sure that on the website, soon after the meeting, we can publish and give all instructors plenty of time to pick a course that they want to take within their renewal cycle. And to remind the board members, you all are always welcome to join these sessions. It would be as a board member representative, so you can also help evaluate them. Many of our members have been repeatedly, and so obviously it is not a requirement. For those of you that are newer and interested in going, just let me know. Most of them are virtual, so you'd be able to attend any of them, even if it's not in your part of the state. If you're traveling, you'd have to be limited to the one offered near you. But otherwise, they're a great opportunity to see what's offered out there for our instructors. So having said all that, we are on page 92 on your iPads. These are being presented to you in the order that I received them, and we do have one of our providers here in person, which is amazing. The first item is for the University of Tennessee. This is in Knoxville, UT Conference Center. They've submitted the Instructor Continuing Education Seminar for you to review. They are requesting Sunday, July the 20th, and Monday the 21st, and this session is in person only. So I will let you all look at it. Generally speaking, the evaluations that are sent from the instructors that participate are sent in through the provider, and I go through those. If there's ever any concern, I would bring those before the board, possibly even soon after the session. We're very lucky to not have those situations come up. Our providers get really good ratings, so. Any questions, please let me know.
On the University of Tennessee, Knoxville,
Yes, sir.
I just want to express, I was personally disappointed last year in it. My wife tried to go to it, got hung up in the airlines shut down, and they were not good to work with trying to deal with them. So from the aspect of being a consumer and watching it unfold, was very disappointed in how they were dealing with professionals that had enrolled in that course. And dealt with them emailing, and like I say, very disappointed. She ended up taking the class with Tennessee State, which was great, but I was just not happy with them at all.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
love for you to pass that on from at least one member
Oh,
of the board.
absolutely, absolutely.
Because they seem not to really care one way or the other.
Okay.
And I think they should be much more focused on the consumer and to protect our practitioners,
Mm-hmm.
that if something's beyond their control, that I can't believe the University of Tennessee would go out of business with not helping one of their people.
Thank you,
Please.
absolutely, thank you. Members, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll need a motion. We are approving their date as well as, obviously, the agenda will get added as well. And I will personally communicate with the facilitators and let them know that there was a situation with someone that couldn't make it that should have been handled differently.
I make a motion to accept those dates, and I'm close by, and I will plan to attend this one this year again. I enjoyed it the first time that I got to attend, and I plan on going back there this year.
Wonderful, thank you. I've got Monica Lemons as a motion. I apologize. Do we have? And Ms. Lane Petty is a second. All those in favor of approving this session, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Ms.
I will
Russ?
abstain.
You'll abstain. Thank you.
I have a question, Ms. Roxanne. I
Yes.
know they move really fast. On the working lunch, and this is a question that I've had just from sitting in in sessions, previously. So I see it where it says working lunch in the dining room. So if a participant wants to step out during their lunch break, because it is their lunch break, are they not getting those hours if they're missing that information? Like, is that held against them?
So they have to complete 16 hours. They're allowed, I believe, breaks every so often. So if the lunch is considered working hours, they have to be there.
Yeah.
If it's
okay.
not working hours and not part of the 16, they
Okay.
can stay or go next door to a good restaurant.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever they decide. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank
okay.
you.
So we have Becky Russell abstaining, and Mr. McElroy, you voted no? Is that correct? Okay. I don't think I need to do roll call vote because we have almost everyone here. So the dates and agenda are passed. Ms. Russell, I will turn it back to you. Or do you want me to go through these?
You can go ahead and
Okay.
go through them.
Thank you. The next one is the Confident Educator. Ms. LaShawn Thompson is on the call with us, so if you've got any questions, she'll be happy to hop on. This is also, again, the instructors are the only ones that have mandatory continuing education. This session is going to be for 2 different dates, and it is a virtual, both dates are virtual, March 23rd and 24th, and September 20th and 21st.
In the past, we've had groups who've asked for multiple dates. I see we have quite a few folks who also asked for multiple dates. We're tracking whether they cancel. I know that was a problem in years past where they didn't get the enrollment that they wanted and then they would cancel. Are any of these folks on that list?
That is a great question. So we did this last year, and the board agreed and motioned that we are limiting it to 2. The reason for the limit is, 1, if you're going to cancel, we do really need to know far in advance. And then over and above that, we didn't see that offering more dates helped those instructors that miss it. John and I can vouch for the fact that almost at every session, someone misses it, is very angry, doesn't understand that they'll have to retest. So more sessions didn't seem to get rid of that issue, unfortunately. But it is also really hard on the office to keep up with this. The providers don't pay to do this, right? So we've got to juggle the agenda, make sure that everything's right on the website. We've got to follow up on getting the list. Some of our providers don't send it as quickly as we need it. We have to follow up with the evaluation. So it's just a lot of work if all the providers, I think at one point, one had even up to 5 or 6. it just wasn't manageable. So that's why we limited it to 2 in this year, and it went really well. So if it's okay with the board, they've also, well, most of them have submitted 2 days. TSU has not, and Knoxville, they're both just 1 day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members, I would need a motion and a second to accept both of those dates.
Second.
A motion by Lane Petty and a second by Ms. Tamika Turner. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, thank you. The next presentation is the Beauty Educators Leadership Conference. This is Ms. Destiny Cox, and we are blessed with her having joined us here in person. This is the instructor session, and she has requested 2 dates, April 27th and 28th, and November 16th and 17th. Thank you.
Would you like to tell us about your session?
Well, good morning, everyone. How are you? Awesome. So the Beauty Educators Leadership Conference is sponsored by DCI Academy. We celebrated 5 years of doing that conference for Tennessee. And it's very successful because I'm personally still in the classroom and a school owner. I still travel, I still coach, I still do a lot of stuff. But my heart is making sure that the instructors, the educators have what they need in order to grow in the classroom. That's been me for over 20-something years. And so this conference this year was totally amazing. And I put in for 2 more dates this year. And we really conquered some things. And I actually told Roxanne I want to share some things just so the board has an awareness of what's going on in the classrooms. And I don't know if I can do that. Am I going too fast? Can I do that right now?
We'll give you a brief moment, yes.
Great. Not only did we teach teaching methodologies, and we did it with a theme because we noticed that educators have different learning styles as well, and you got to know how you learn in order to teach someone. And so we did a sports theme, but it was strictly teaching methodologies. But we had coaches come in that catered to what the educators needed, and such as mental health awareness. We had that small segment, and it was an overwhelming chat of educators who are stressed beyond. So, yes, we have the domestic violence certification, but we need something to keep our educators from burning out and leaving the industry, because that was one of the biggest pullbacks. And then them conquering the barriers that they see in the classroom, because the student today is not the student 5 years ago. And they're not 100%, not everybody, but this is not even 50% equipped to deal with the different, I don't want to say disabilities, but the different barriers from substance abuse. They're not trained. And so there needs to be something, I don't know for other states, but I love Tennessee. It needs to be something, and maybe I'm just an advocate for the educators today, that if you guys would just take another peek and maybe do something, but those are some serious issues I get as far as feedback, and especially this year. So I just wanted to share that with the board.
Thank you so much,
No
Ms.
problem.
Destiny. Members, if you have any other questions, feel free to ask. If not, we would need a motion to accept the 2 dates she's requested.
I make a motion to accept.
Thank you. We have a motion by Tamika Turner, a second by Judy McAllister. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, thank you. Thank you for coming in person.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I would like, if I could request to sit in that meeting for the April meeting.
Yes, love to
okay,
have you.
Yes.
And my students are here also. They get a lot of
Welcome,
it.
students.
Welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And, okay, thank you, members. The next is on your iPads, starting on page 99, I believe. It's integrating today's beauty education with tomorrow's techniques. This is Mr. Thomas James' session. I don't know if he's on the call. If he is. Oh, good to see you. Thank you. So good to see you in person. He, too, is asking for 2 different dates, February 16th and 17th, and then October 5th and 6th.
Mr. James, welcome. Would you like to tell us a bit about it?
Similar to Destiny's, in the sense of, thank you, thanks, Ms. Roxana. Just similar to Destiny's, just trying to put the educator first, knowing that they are the ones that are going to be influencing those future professionals that will be servicing our community as we try to, protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. And then just hearing the feedback from our sessions of things that they are needing, liking, loving, hating, while teaching, and then just trying to find different ways to uplift or inspire our educators as they try to uplift and inspire their students. So all of that in a edutainment type of way, if you will.
I've attended your session and thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a
Thank
great
you.
session.
Thanks.
I will make one note, your flyer has the 6th and 7th of October. I didn't know if you're the 5th and 6th of October or the 6th and 7th.
Let me see. Whatever that Sunday and Monday is, and I will change that, so. Yeah, I will go with 5th and 6th, and I'll just update that on that flyer. Give it back to Ms. Roxana.
Thank you, Becky, or Amy, for catching that.
Sunday, Monday, that's 25. Man, I'm a whole year behind. That's frightening. 5 and 6, got it.
Members, we would need a motion and a second to accept these dates and the session for 2025.
I make the motion to accept both dates.
Thank you. We have a motion by Judy McAllister, a second by Lane Petty. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, thank you. Thank you for coming in
Awesome.
person.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members, the next session on your iPads is for TSU. This is the Avon campus. They've submitted their continuing education instructor session with one requested date. This would be Sunday, August the 3rd, and Monday, August the 4th. They've transitioned. They have a lot of different transitional things going on at the school, so the person that's doing the continuing education this next year is new. I'll be working closely with them. Unfortunately, their session, always that first week in August falls when we have a board meeting, so it makes it difficult for any of the board members to attend, because we need you in here. So if I'm able to participate virtually that Sunday, I'm going to attempt to do that as well. But
And they moved to all virtual? This is not in person any longer?
they're hoping that it's in person and virtual. So right now, their
okay.
game plan is to have it both ways, which I think last year worked out. They had one person dedicated the entire time to us that were participating virtually. It's just hard to do the two worlds. Speaking from experience, then it makes it tough. But they're committed to trying to do that again this year.
I make a motion to accept those dates.
Thank you. We have a motion by Monica Lemons and a second by Lane Petty. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you, members. Our last provider requesting approval is KINCC Education Group, Ms. Kimberly Anderson. If she's on the call, she'll let us know if we've got any questions. She is also asking for 2 separate dates. The virtual date that she'll be offering is just around the corner. It's January 26th and 27th. And then she is doing an in-person at Paul Mitchell in Memphis. That is June 7th and 8th.
I'll second.
We have a motion by David McElree and a second by Tamika Turner to accept these dates. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Members, thank you. That takes care of all of our appearing before the board. If you can, on your iPad, switch over with that little arrow to the legal report, I'm going to let our attorney, Michael Underhill, take over and get the legal report done. Thank you, Mike.
Roxana, just to confirm, now that we've approved those dates, and I
Yes.
will give the office credit, it looks like we have one a month, and no more than one a month for all of next year. There will be no other approved dates or sessions?
That is a great question. We do not have permission or a right to deny a provider. So if someone did reach us in March or April, we would bring them before you at the next meeting. They would be able to get dates. The board could decide, I mean, the statute limit really lists the 16 hours, teaching methodology, breaks. But other than that, there'd be no reason. Now, sometimes I've had providers want to offer the end of the year, and then they'd be approved for a very short span. And obviously, we want to see them succeed. So I can guide them to try to get the whole year, but we wouldn't keep them from being presented, no.
Okay, well, this was just really helpful to have it all at
Yes, it
once and
is.
to have a map for,
Correct.
okay, thank you.
Correct. Thank you.
Good morning, Board.
Good morning.
As you can see, we have 76 items on the legal report. We have 57 cosmetology cases, 9 barber cases, and 10 represents. If there are any questions about the recommendations, I will do my best to answer them. Otherwise, I would need a motion and a second to adopt.
David, if you can press your mic.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
I second that.
I want to make sure that everyone has a chance. If you have highlighted cases that you wanted to talk about or ask Mike, he does an amazing job, but I don't think we've ever not asked him something. I'm not fishing for questions, but I just want to make sure everybody's had a chance to review it and ask us any questions before we lose Mike.
I'd like to talk about number 10 for just a second.
Okay.
It was a complaint made by a student and the school responded, and I'm okay with those things that were said on both sides, but I do want to say this for this school as well as others. They're talking about in here that they use the SEMA platform and online textbooks, which is perfectly fine, and those are great teaching tools, but they are a tool, not a babysitter. So for schools, I just want to make sure that we are indeed using those for a teaching tool. I feel like the student is saying that they're using it as a babysitter, and we have no way of knowing one way or the other, but please, instructors, make sure that you are indeed using that as a tool if you are using one of those learning platforms. There are some wonderful learning platforms out there, but they will never take the place of a live instructor. So I just wanted to make sure that we know that. Number 50, we have the people that are running out the back door. We've heard that several times. And in this particular one, it says that there are 6 clients being serviced at that time, and 3 of the clients even walked out with the people. But if there were 6 and there were only 3 licensed individuals, I don't know. We might not be able to get all 6 that ran out the back door, but I don't understand why we didn't get 3.
Well, and that was the inspector's recommendation because everybody had dispersed so quickly that they stated they wanted to go back in and try to have a better command of the situation as opposed to just the owner stating it was a 6-person cleaning crew. So I thought that was appropriate. Just close this and start anew with another inspection.
I need a 6-person cleaning crew to come by my house. So when we go back, just let them know. I think we definitely need to go back and reach out to that one. And then number 54, I think, is a represent. Is this saying that we are revoking the license now, or it has already been revoked?
No, that would be authorize a formal hearing to revoke now, but give them the opportunity to voluntarily
Okay.
revoke their license. Granted, it had been a while, the first 3 offenses happening in '07 and '08, but
Right.
And Becky and members, I'm going to take advantage of some of our members being newer, as those of you that have been here for a minute know, revocation is always that last resort. It's not what the board ever intends to do. But when the shop has the same egregious findings time after time, and especially running out the back or someone hiding or at all costs avoiding the field inspectors, we want to go back because obviously, we're seeing something that shouldn't be, right? We go to educate and be partners with our shop succeeding, not the other way around. And so the board, years and years ago, had kind of set precedent and said if individuals are running out the back or there's that egregious unlicensed activity on that third attempt where it is truly unlicensed and we're not able to help them fix that, then we would go for revocation. Maybe that shop shouldn't, those owners maybe shouldn't be running a shop if they're not understanding.
Well, that was my question, since we have several that are unlicensed. Activity where it's clearly not the first offense, do we need to reevaluate our fee schedule? Is that something we do, or how would we debate that?
And that's a great question. So this board has an agreed citation process. We established it in 2014, maybe early 2015, and we ran with it for close to a year. It moved at that time about 46% of our complaint volume because we were opening 2,000 to 3,000 complaints a year, which is really, really high. We were moving them through the agreed citation process, and the board members decided that process, set the tiers, if you will. Some minor things were letter of instruction, letter of warning, and we moved up depending on the infraction. Depending on your history, that moved up as well. So right now, if it is truly unlicensed, at least in the agreed citation process, we have set that, the board has set that at $1,000. And you don't see or hear at least 42% of them. They settle with the civil penalties paying directly and sign it, and we're done. Those that you have before you have moved over to legal, and so you can change that fee. That would be at the board's discretion. And then the revocation piece I explained a minute ago is also at the board's discretion. Unlicensed activity per se, they didn't know, they've got somebody waiting on a reciprocal application, didn't know to apply, that happens a lot. Those aren't, that wouldn't necessarily be the ones that we're looking at for revocation. It's not as bad as someone hiding in a cabinet or running out the back. And those are realities, or the room being closed, that kind of thing, that would concern us, right? Our goal is only to protect the public. It is not to impose a penalty so high that the shops would close if they're doing things right. But yes, Amy, to your answer, you all would debate that. If you think it's time to reevaluate the agreed citation process, I could bring forth with Joe and Mike's help the letter that we have for the agreed citation and kind of debate it, but the $1,000 for some of the shops is high. I know those of you that are shop owners sometimes have said that's just part of doing business, maybe. And if that's the case, maybe that's where you're also coming from, right? Maybe that penalty isn't high enough, but it would be you all deciding.
I mean, I'd love to hear what the group thinks. I think some of our penalty amounts make sense, and it seems to not lead to multiple infractions. I think my comment for the record would be that I am concerned about seeing multiple shops paying these $1,000 per incident multiple times. I wouldn't want to do that multiple times, but clearly this is a pattern that we're seeing. So I think for me, the one that I would love to see discussed is that multiple offense unlicensed activity, where I don't know if it's deterring that behavior or not.
And I definitely agree, because that's the conversation, like in the beauty community. Oh, I'll just pay the fine. Like what happens beyond that, and especially if they know they can pay the fine and then they go back and they continue it without changed behavior. What happens after that? Yeah.
Another thought could be that every time that same offense is happening, to increase the fine for that particular, second offense, 2 times the amount, third offense, 5 times. I'm just being excessive, but you know what I mean.
May I jump in here on that? By statute, we cannot go past $1,000 per incident, and what I mean by that is if there are 5 people when we go in that are unlicensed, that would be 5 separate $1,000 offenses. So there can be an increase, and just from an attorney perspective, I think once I have that third offense, I've got a little bit better evidence of a pattern of conduct. I don't know if I can get a judge on my side with just a second offense and we want to pull the license. But I think if I can show 3 straight times that this is the third offense, I think at that point, just from an attorney perspective, that's a lot better case to prove and get revocation. That's just my personal opinion.
On this particular one, this is the respondent's 4th offense.
That is correct. I was not here back in '08, and apparently, I was not here in 2014 when we established what I would call 3 strikes and you're out. But by history, and I do research the histories, obviously, of these offenses to find out whether it is a second, third, or maybe a 4th offense. But on this case, since this would be the 4th, and granted, again, I'd have to, go in and prove it if they don't voluntarily revocate, but I would feel good establishing that in '07 and '08, they had kind of run their course. So, but to answer your question, yes, it is the 4th offense.
I'd also like to note that it's at least a decade in between those offenses, and there's something that should be said about a duration of time that I don't, who knows what has happened or what has changed in between that amount of time, but clearly a pattern has been interrupted.
And the court could take that into consideration as a mitigating circumstance.
Once a license is revoked, are they able to reapply? They are, so there's no limitation on not allowing them to ever apply again?
Roxana, that's more of a licensing.
Correct. They can apply online over the weekend. If the shop is in the same address, if it's the same owner or managers, it's a possibility that the office would connect those pieces. The inspector, when they go to inspect, would associate past history as well. Many times the reapplication is with a change of ownership. A different person has taken over, and we would have no grounds with which to deny probably, and we shouldn't, right? Because if you just bought a shop and you didn't know their history, can you imagine if we held that against you? So we don't. We look at the business license to make sure that that ownership is different. But to your point, they could definitely reapply.
And so as far as their cosmetology license, if it's revoked, they
So
can't.
This is just the shop.
Oh,
This
just the
board
shop, okay.
has really never, with maybe a situation that had health concerns with the individual with health issues, that the board went and was concerned about the personal license and the public not being protected if that person served. So you've never revoked a license just because they were the owner of a shop. The shop license is revoked, but then the individuals still have their personal license to work somewhere else, right? So unless the board wanted to take a different path, and I would just caution us on that, because philosophically, you all have been really good about understanding their personal license still gives them a way to provide for their families and gives them all that. Maybe the ownership in the shop is the problem, right? So that's usually how we've treated it. I can only think of one time where it's been the personal license was also involved.
What about like, for unlicensed individuals, what is the penalty? So if I'm, say I just graduated barber school, I hadn't got my license, or I was in the process of getting a license and I just decide I'm gonna go work in the shop, and I go in, the inspector comes in, and what does that look like for me as the individual that's unlicensed?
Obviously, that would be a $1,000 civil penalty. Roxana, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think I'm seeing a whole lot of second offenses with an individual. In the almost 5 years that I've been on this board, I don't think I've had anybody come back up on on the radar after a first offense, thankfully.
Right. That is correct. And usually, we do see that with students that haven't quite finished, but to Mike's point, yeah, we don't have that second offense. And sometimes, like the case you pointed out, if the individuals that would appear to be providing services are cleaning crew, we don't know their names, right? We don't know anything about them. So we may, 2 shops down the road, recognize maybe that they might have been, but usually it's just that one time, and hopefully that's the lesson, right? They didn't realize they needed to pass both exams and get licensed or whatever.
So basically what we have is, is that if I'm unlicensed, I'm working in the shop, don't have a license, I catch the $1,000 civil penalty if I don't have a license. So is that just for licensed individuals, or is that just for a civilian? I hadn't been to school, I hadn't been doing anything, I'm just in here, I'm cutting and.
You are either licensed or you're not, or you're maybe in an expired status. Obviously, an expired, we treat a little bit differently.
Right.
But I think the other thing that happens when you have an unlicensed individual or individuals, if there's a designated manager, we also
Yep.
assess that person. If there's a shop, we also assess that person. So I think when you apply the hurt
Right.
across the board, from what I'm saying, at least on the individual part, they're getting the message.
Gotcha.
But you have some shops that want to test the water, and that's fine. When they want to get to that third opportunity, then, I think at that point, revocation, it's not a slam dunk. Of course, it's up to the judge, but I like it when it's a third offense. I think at that point, we're establishing a pattern.
Right.
But you could have a second offense situation depending on the number that are caught, and I think we've had a discussion about that previously. That could also show some better intent as well. I think, you take it on a case-by-case basis. I can see both of those. I think when you have a high number, maybe as a second offense, at that point, I could probably see revocation on that one as well, because I think the sheer number, shows their intent.
Yeah, I mean, in application, right, we're meeting people, not weekly, but, who are in between licensing, they're waiting for reciprocity, or they've moved and they have never applied for reciprocity, they've been cutting in town without a license. We know plenty of places will allow them to cut without a license. There are accidents, but there's also intentionality behind some of this. I think my frustration is, I'm watching students do 1,500 hours, which is a lot of hours. They're taking the tests. I mean, in some instances, we have folks trying to pass the theory. They're taking the test 3, 4, 5 times right now, spending hundreds of dollars to get licensed. And if they know that they don't need to do any of that, then what are we doing?
No, and again, I'm still on this thing, because I know we have had a situation or situations where where we catch 7 people or we have 6 people running out the back door. I agree. I think that changes things, especially as a second offense. I think on the first offense, we just want it to stop. But I think when you have a high number as a second offense, I think that tells a different story.
Is there room in the agreed citation paperwork to allow for some of those nuances? I don't know how particular that is.
Well, I think we recently had a situation where there were 7 people that were caught, and I think at that point we asked for, because on a second offense, nothing, again, we can only go up to 1,000 depending on each person that's caught. But I think when you have that second offense where there's 7 people, I think the citation schedule would allow for that, Roxana, the way I see it written.
Right. And what I can do for our February meeting is bring the agreed citation. Several of you will have never seen it. So I think it's a good educational piece to discuss. And we do take into account history. So there'd be no problem, and Mike would sit through with us, obviously, to make sure that if we're changing not the $1,000, but maybe the number, if it's more than 3 people, set some parameters we could. Our complaints division is division-wide, so the great thing with that is that all 23 or 25 regulatory boards are treated the same as far as consistency and how the process for complaints are handled. The agreed citations are very detailed, right? So as long as we train them and move forward with how to close out those complaints, it wouldn't be an issue. We could definitely do it. And anything that they don't sign and agree to comes before you through Mike, so you'd still see it. So if you're comfortable with that for the next meeting, I would put that on your iPad so that we can review it and even email it ahead of the meeting. So you have a minute to process and decide, well, what if we did this?
But Roxana, don't you think it's important to note that the agreed citations do not follow
Correct.
this schedule that you're going to see? It's only the cases that come to legal. I don't think they do the research
No.
that we do
Right.
as far as to what offense it is. So.
Yeah.
No, we trust you, and we know you're working hard on all of this, and we appreciate it.
I just want to add real quick, just to kind of piggyback off what Amy said about students taking the exam multiple times. Lots of times, and this is just my experience as an educator and school owner, is that students are distracted by the opportunity to be able to work in the shop, right? And so if I can go and start to make money, I'm not really necessarily worried about taking the exam right away because I can go ahead and start to make money. Now, if there's a penalty for the student, now I know the shop owner, they're going to get their little taste of it, and the manager of the shop, but if that individual, I'm less likely to take that chance if I know I'm going to catch 1,000 too. You know what I'm saying? So I think there needs to be something for the individual. Now, you can't, if you didn't catch them running out the back door, if you didn't catch a name, it is what it is. But if I'm in there and I'm working without a license, I'm unlicensed, I think there needs to be something there for those, especially for those students who have put in the time, and they have something at stake there. If I can get fined, or maybe even I can't even get my license for another year if I get caught working without it, and I have been to school.
And there is that $1,000 penalty for them. I think that's why we don't see a whole lot of repeats on that, because individually, obviously, that's a lot of money, and I think it has its deterrent effect.
Right.
And we're either going to collect it on the front end, or we'll collect it eventually on the back end on their application.
Gotcha.
Typically, we get it on the front end. I think we do a pretty good job of trying to, stay in contact with those. I know I personally, after 30 days of sending them a consent order, I personally try to contact these people, and I personally try to find them. Some get away from me, but it's few.
Gotcha.
And one last piece to add to that. So years ago, when we did have a few of the students come through, be hit with $1,000 and had not paid it, when the applicant comes through for their initial license, that connection comes up. So until it's paid off, we won't be able to approve it. You've got a pending complaint, right? And we even presented, those members that have been here a while will remember, we even presented a couple of times individuals that early on for the board to talk to them, hear the situation. Again, the deterrent, right? This is what needed to happen. And so we don't present those. Unfortunately, they don't happen that often. But we could, if the board wanted to see them in person, it'd be one of those things. But as long as what the decision had been, as long as the civil penalty's been taken care of and the complaint's closed, we want them to be licensed and work under the right terms. Does that help?
And just to be clear, we're really just distinguishing, there's a revocation, there is licensed in good standing, there's licensed expired, and then all unlicensed could be student, could be anyone off the street. There's no distinction between what unlicensed group is. Okay. Actually, I was gonna say, docking hours, you know? Something like, if it's not monetary, if you're already spending money in school, what's the important component is finishing?
Right.
And if, if it's 50 hours, that gets assessed, but then you're just still part of the unlicensed group of individuals.
Right.
It's not like you're carrying around your student card. I hear it'd be difficult to distinguish, in that in between.
Right. I think I just see it often.
Yeah.
I just see it often, and like I say, it becomes a distraction. I think otherwise they would just go ahead and go on and get their license and get to work. But if I can work unlicensed and I have shops that are gonna allow me to work unlicensed, I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna come back about a year later and then try to get my license. And then at that point, all the knowledge that I attained in school, a lot of it's been flushed, and so, I don't know. I just see it often, so that's why I wanted to kind of speak on it.
Shop owners, here's a word of advice.
Yes.
Pay for the student's test. It's cheaper than the fine if they don't have a license.
Yes. Yeah.
If I can add to that, and I have instructors periodically call me with that. I know 3 of my old students, they're working, you need, as an instructor or a school owner, you can report those students. You can online tell us where they're operating and when. Otherwise, the likelihood of us really catching them on a Friday night and Saturday, it's not gonna happen. And so I do have instructors that struggle with that because they've taught them right, they understand the dynamic, they understand they need to work, but they didn't pass the exam, and so now they've decided to work a year or two. So you can report that information. That's one way that we will obviously know.
Yep. And one thing to always remember, they always come back. So, we're dealing with the situation right now, they always come back. So they want that piece. It's a temporary thing when they're unlicensed, and then they grow up a little bit, and they always come back. So, one thing that I tell my students is, as long as we're operating, the doors are open to you so that we can help you, to completion. But we have no ways to make them do the right thing or make the salons have the integrity that we have when it comes down to this. So just encourage them and just remind them of the fines. I remember I was in school, my teacher would remind us, hey, if you get caught, you're gonna get fined. And we were afraid of that, but no one is really, pushing that like they used to. So again, to the instructors as well, just remembering the integrity of our industry and upholding the standards that we have created to safeguard what has taken care of our families.
And just one final point, Roxanne and I have talked about this. We think that the word gets out when you have to pay one of those. But we've also seen, and the board has seen on these complaints, competitors have no hesitation to file a complaint. The general public has no hesitation to file a complaint on unlicensed activity. And of course, we're doing our annual inspections, so there's multiple ways to get caught. You can't run the gauntlet forever, so.
Okay, so fees for February.
The agreed citation
Citation
process, I'll bring
schedule,
the whole thing,
excuse
yes,
me.
ma'am. Yes. And we did have, not to interrupt, a motion and a second, but I don't want, if the conversation's still going on, I didn't want us to stop.
Any other conversation? All right, we do have an open motion in second, so all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, members. That was wonderful. And yes, I have a to-do for February, and I'll send that ahead of the meeting for everyone as well. I'm going to turn it over to Joe just for a quick update on the rules that are in the pipeline. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, board members. Just wanted to provide an update on that rulemaking package that we discussed at our last meeting. Ms. Tankersley, we've actually pulled back the rules we were currently working on to add in a couple of pieces, and then just as one solid package moved it forward. Those
Yes,
rules-
apparently you miss a meeting and all sorts of exciting things happen, so
Yeah, we took advantage.
can't
No,
wait,
I'm
I
just
heard, yes.
Essentially, the rules have been approved through my legal department. They're now sitting with the Assistant Commissioner, Mr. Witcher, who introduced himself to you all several meetings ago. So once I get his feedback on those rules and get his okay, we'll move those forward and then file them with the Department of Health. They review the hygiene and sanitation rules. They have to sign off on any changes that we make on a rule regarding hygiene and sanitation. And then we'll get that rulemaking hearing scheduled in front of you all, okay? That's the update I have.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, members. Okay, we are back on your presentation. Page 106 starts with our applications for examination. You have before you our applicants that are either requesting to test or requesting a license, and this is due to a felony agreed order they need to sign. You have information for Christopher Brown, Larry Higgins, Derek Jefferson, Tadias Jenkins before you, as well as Ms. Adam Williams. The first few individuals are currently incarcerated. Their conviction information is before you. You also have an instructor recommendation. This board approves our members with felony applications. And of course, anyone that is incarcerated, we do the same documentation. We do always a 2-year agreed order. The board may, if they want an extension to that 2-year order, but generally, that agreed order protects the board in the event that a complaint would come up and we would need to go against that license. Unfortunately, that has never happened. So, and then the last item is Ms. Adam Williams. The board has given me the authority, along with Joe Wardham, to review anyone that is not incarcerated, whether they're coming through reciprocity or one of our schools. We don't want to hold them up from working until the next meeting. And so we have permission from the board to do the agreed orders in between meetings. And then on the record, you still get to look at those documents. So Ms. Autumn Williams has already been licensed. So I'll let everyone review those records because those are not sent to you in advance. They are on the SharePoint documentation though, and if you have any questions, let me know. But otherwise, we would need a motion to approve these agreed orders.
I'll make a motion for approval.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, we're moving on to our reciprocity applications, and we don't always have these. I believe we do, we've had several meetings without them. It starts on page 131, and let me get to that. Okay. You have before you Miss Anna Thai Nguyen. She's applying for a manicure license via reciprocity from Georgia. Her license certification shows an initial license date of October 15th, 2021, with education through apprenticeship, which Georgia does offer, and both exams. Ms. Nguyen held a manicure license in Tennessee prior to 1994. That license was revoked. Those old records, unfortunately, are not available. Technology didn't have the scanning capabilities we do now, so none of that is captured. I have spoken to Ms. Nguyen, and she too just couldn't remember all the details other than it wasn't done the right way with education and the exam. So you have before you what we do have, which is education done in Georgia, a license. But because of the revocation status, I needed to bring that before the board. So if the board is okay approving her reciprocity, that would be my recommendation.
I make a motion to approve.
I second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Monica Lemons and a second by Mr. Perry Baldwin. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, thank you. And on page 143 is our financial information. Pardon me, I thought my mic was on. We're on to the director's report, which is the financial information. We did not at the October meeting have final closure numbers for 2023, 2024. You have before you, this particular document that's on page 143 is a really good perspective of the 4 years. And so we closed this last fiscal year with a deficit of $40,834. Our reserve is still a very decent reserve. We have $1,181,639 in reserves. the board, give or take, spends about 3 million a year. And so we're, at least from the last couple of years, brought in just a little bit less than what we needed to cover our expenses. And we've talked about this at each meeting. We will probably need to review fees, but we're not going to be doing that anytime soon. We know that the compact agreement has passed for the cosmetology license, and so that's going to modify some things. We'll probably have fewer people applying through reciprocity because hopefully more and more states will sign on to that. And so we will address kind of what that new fee should look like when we have that compact in place. The aesthetics compact is moving forward. I'm very blessed to be able to work on that one as well. So, you know, these are good things to allow for mobility and some ease, but they do have some type of a financial impact. So we're gonna look at these at that point. So this board has not been self-sufficient for 2 years in a row, which means that, you know, we'll have a presentation to do. And again, because we have a decent amount in reserves and we're pretty low when you look at what we bring in and what we spend percentage-wise and what our deficit is, but still, rarely do we want to be in a deficit. And I can hear Mr. Gambusa explaining when we were bringing the barber fees in line with the cosmetology. You know, he said, you don't ever lower fees, Roxana, but we did, and it was the right thing to do, so. So that's 2023, 2024. The numbers that you have before you on the next page are through October, and that shows us at a surplus of $16,799, which is great to have a surplus, but it's still a real small number. So we are right there between what we're spending and what we're bringing in. But it leaves our final reserve as of the end of October at $1,198,438. So.
Remind me what our goal is on the surplus or netting out. What is our directive?
There's no true goal. Years and years ago, it was you should have at least 2 years reserve. So that would be 6 million, which is a lot of money to sit on. We've never looked at that number. When we increased fees, it was in 2017, and we increased cosmetology fees by $5 a year. And then we reduced barbers, so everybody could be the same amount, school, shops, and individuals, right? And so it's been a minute, but I think also the ramifications are, as we hear every day, from when we buy milk to everything has gone up. Our inspections have cost us a lot more to do. Fees, the state employees have had their pay reevaluated compared to other states, and that was a very fair, wonderful thing that the governor did, and so it did impact all of our stuff, from legal on down. So I think we will have to look at those fee increases, but there's no magical number that it should be, and I think 8 million, you know, that kind of 6 million in reserves is too much money. But it would be nice to obviously each year have a little bit of a cushion and not be struggling. Percentage-wise, the deficit we have is a low percentage, but it's still short. And because this is a large board, we do pick up our cost backs at maybe a larger amount, right? Because we're gonna have set cost backs, we have more complaints than other programs and more licensing. So, did that help a little?
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was a government mandate on what the magic math was here. No.
I have a question. I heard you say that the aesthetics has picked up also on the compact.
We are working on it. So the
Okay.
work group that I'm on has, and it's going to be very similar to the cosmetology compact. Obviously, for states like Tennessee, we've signed on, and now it's a matter of the national piece that commission of states that have signed it are going to work together. We're going to put together what that looks like, what data needs to be fed in for the multi-state license. So although we've signed the law, it doesn't truly exist just yet, right, the piece. But the aesthetics will be almost identical so that the states that have signed on don't have to reinvent the wheel each time.
Yeah. So my question was going to be, how do other disciplines become a part of the compact, like barbering?
That's a great question. So we started with barber and cosmetology, and I was very lucky to be part of that. The game plan was for both to be approved, and it did not happen. The barber individuals representing the barber industry thought they were too different. that the particulars in each state were different enough, and it just didn't move forward. Nothing says that next month it could not be added. So this is with the Department of Justice to help our military folks and mobility, right? And so for
Correct.
that same reason, I would imagine that we would try to move the barbers back into this. But,
Yeah, and that was my understanding, that it was with the Department of Justice and, the military wives that are moving around with cosmetology, but also the military men that are in barbering as well, should have that same right to be able to, move their license or have it in several states as well.
Yes. And of course, our barbers aren't just men, right? Our
Right.
barbers are men and
I'm a
women and
barber,
the other way
yeah.
around. Exactly, you left yourself out.
Yes.
Exactly, we want to be cognizant of that. So I would imagine, and that's my hope, that, because many states are like us, they have a combined board. And so it's very rough when a barber, and I've had a couple since then say, well, I understand there's this law for cosmetology, and to be able to say, yes, but you're not part of that is really sad.
Okay, and then my last question is, speaking on the fees, from my understanding, eyelash specialists are not being charged currently?
That is correct. The law passed to add the eyelash specialist and the shop, but it did not include a fee. And so the law trumps the rule. And even though in rule we have a fee structure, eyelashes are not spelled out in that structure. So Joe has worked really hard, which is one of the main reasons we want to hurry through those rules. At this point in time, they are not charged.
And just to piggyback on what Roxana just explained, the eyelash specialist fee, we had in a rulemaking package last year, and we pushed that through. That rulemaking package was approved. However, the state has a law that says any change in fee, a rule that changes a fee, has to be effective before July 1, which is the start of our fiscal year, for it to go into effect. There was a slowdown with the AG's office and the review of those rules, and they became effective on July 11th. So that's why we had to wait the fiscal calendar year. So starting this next year on July 1, we would then be able to assess those eyelash specialist fees. And it was an unfortunate timing thing of 10 days, literally.
How many eyelash specialists do we have now?
Ooh, that's a great question. So I think we're right under 100. So it didn't, it could have taken off and grown faster maybe, but it is very specific. And keep in mind that our cosmetologists, our barbers, our estheticians can still offer the services, always have been able to. So we've approved that one school that was aesthetics but is only doing eyelashes. So there's a path for the schools to teach that specific discipline as well. So I think we'll see an increase as time goes by, yeah.
Board members, as we were talking about the national exam, I spent 2 weeks ago, I was in Kansas City looking at the national exam. I was there with there were probably 50 people all over North America just looking at the exam to make sure that it is what we feel is necessary to hold a license. So I think you all will get a kick out of this. They did not tell us. They gave us no warning whatsoever. And we walked in on the first day and they said, welcome to your state board exam. And we all took all of the licensure exams that we held a license for. So you all do not have to revoke my license. I passed again. But it was a great way for us to take the exam to know what the students would be asked to do. And while we are not in a compact with the barbering exam, I did take the barber exam, and I do feel like at least the theory portion works for the state of Tennessee. We did not look at practical yet. So the theory portion, though, I feel like is very similar to everything that we have in our curriculum in the rulemaking or in the rule section. The curriculum, that test follows that very closely. So I do feel comfortable that joining the compact would not affect us as far as would we be concerned that, having a national license in barbering, we wouldn't be concerned in the state of Tennessee, I don't think, with that, so.
Because it's very similar.
Thank you.
It's very, very similar. Like I said, I'm a barber by trade, but I also have taught barbering for many years, and then being on the Cosmo side of it now, it's very similar. So that's why I wanted to ask that question about the barbering, because a lot of times I know we're kind of left behind, and just wanting to see it, make progress.
We were looking at the cut score is basically what, the questions along with the cut score, but making sure that the cut score, the person who passes that would have to have an education, not just what color is grass. So the cut score, well, we've all seen those tests where, they're too easy. So we don't want it to be too easy that somebody uneducated could not pass it, or and we don't want it to be so hard that an educated person could not pass. So anyway, the cut score seems like it's working out well. So I'm happy with the theory portion of this exam.
And if I could add, just so that for those of you where the compact is new to you or you're not familiar with it, if you look at the statute for cosmetology, 62-4, you're going to see two chunks where you used to just see all the laws. It's the old 62-4 that's all of our laws, and then the compact has its separate section. To be on the compact, we are not mandating a specific exam. There is no such thing as a national exam to be on the compact. Every state has to have an exam, not necessarily two. If they have two, that's great, but it has to have an exam and education that state deems appropriate, right? And so those first conversations are difficult if people are stuck with 1,500 hours and 2 exams and they don't want to budge. But fortunately, that's the way it's written. To allow mobility, we're not dictating which one. But what we're blessed to have Ms. Russell have worked on, it is a really good idea to have a standard, a more similar exam that different states, in our case, we use PSI, can use. And that too is helpful, so that, if you're not in the compact until your state signs it, it would still ease mobility, right? Does that help some or clarify?
I'm kind of new, so, and I've noticed things run fast in here. So if you ain't paying attention, you're gonna miss something. But just to kind of go back, so I just want to know what the procedure is. If something's already passed, they already made a motion, somebody's seconded it. But I caught something in the application to test that I just kind of wanted to bring up because it kind of struck me.
Yes.
Going back to page 112, if we look at all of those, this individual who wrote the letters, it was a specific template that they used for each letter.
That is correct.
Now, when they got to 112, that template changed. Now, this individual here is a registered sex offender. And like I said, the template changed. She said, it's my responsibility to be transparent. This individual struggled with essential skills. So he's a cosmetologist. And so cosmetologist, he's going to be working with female clients. I don't know. That just kind of struck me, and I just wanted to bring that up just because we zoomed through that one kind of quick.
Well, so let me add some history, and you all can decide to change it. The member that brought this up had a great point. She worked as a volunteer with victims of sexual assault. She was very familiar with an individual out on parole and the reporting requirements with the Department of Corrections, right? And so in a few cases, such as the sex offenses, the agreed order has been for a longer period of time, 3 years. I don't think we've ever done one longer. We also added a requirement that as soon as they get out, they would have to report, which really by statute, every 30 days, you have 30 days to report to the board if you've moved. So that's already, communicating with the board's already out there. We've never denied a felony, and the reason for the sex offense individuals and her concern, which was very, very well stated, is because other agencies within Tennessee are going to track those individuals and have a lot more authority than we do. So if we don't do the agreed order and don't license them, are they going to be working unlicensed in a shop? Are they also then just going to look for a different path to provide for their families that may not include a good path? So with that philosophy, this board has never denied a felony applicant, and some industries have a statutory flexibility. We never have. We look at felonies within the last 3 years, except if you're incarcerated, then we want to see the whole thing. And some individuals that are incarcerated, if you look at their time, might not get out for 15 or 20 years, right? They're signing it now so that they can start cutting hair while they're in the facility and maybe doing that training. But that's a great point. The templates are usually, at least while they're incarcerated, the same, but they will change, and you'll see that. Sometimes it'll be very short and simple. So just something to know, that the board has never denied someone, but you can definitely add to the order or discuss it if you're not comfortable doing that.
I don't know, that one just kind of struck me because.
I get it.
She did put it out there, and it's my job to be transparent. Now, this guy has struggled. So, you know, I mean, I don't know. I'm just like I
Mr.
say,
Martin?
I'm the new guy, but I just wanted to put that out there, though.
Yes, 15 years before he, and I think this was felony. So from his sentencing, it started in 2020, and he was convicted, and his max sentence is 15 years. And because I read this one as well. As Ms. Roxana stated, this is basically for them to work while they're in the prison. But there are, other safeguards around it once he's out. But his max sentence is 15 years. So.
Okay, I see it now.
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, his max is
I got you.
federal.
Now, I'm thinking he finna get out.
No.
I'm thinking he finna get out.
No.
they got a while.
Okay, I got you.
I do
got you.
like that she added that she was being transparent, that he had struggled in mastering the essential skills. It sounds like to me he may have struggled in the classroom and potentially even failed portions. He did complete his 1,500 hours required. The great thing about we are approving them to be tested for licensure anyway. So they're going to go through testing. So if he struggled and he is not capable, then his licensure exam will still catch him. So that's what makes me a little more comfortable approving him so that he can be tested.
I got you. I didn't see the release date. I don't know, when I seen that, I was just thinking, hold up now. But I get it now, though.
If you're working in a barber shop while you're incarcerated, do they have to be licensed?
So the prisons don't have a barber shop, right, per se, what you would imagine as a barber shop, but they have to have a place where your inmates have care, right? The cutting hair, the beard, whatever it may be. And so that is where they do a lot of the education and the hours. The guards could even have their hair done, the warden. I mean, it just, the goal is obviously from different angles, but definitely if someone is going to be getting out, to make sure that they've got a path, the GED course. There are universities that teach in our facilities. And so without a doubt, they've got something along the line of a barber shop. And some of the facilities ask us to inspect for accreditation purposes, and we're more than happy to do that as a courtesy. We don't normally go and inspect, but they'll coordinate with me through the supervisor, and we'll have a field inspector go and inspect. And it's monitored and done differently than your shop would be, right? Because of the tools and what have you. But again, it's an amazing opportunity. And it's at the women's prison as well as the facilities for the men. Yes, thank you. That is all that I have, members. Any other questions?
I was going to say to Miss Amy, I'm sorry. I was going to say to Miss Amy that we have a program inside of the prison, and it is amazing. And just to see the ladies come in and getting their hair done. I was telling someone just yesterday that if you get braids in your hair with the extensions in prison, then you're the top of, you're that girl in prison, right? But they get that when they go to court or they're getting ready to go home. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Have we published the schedule for next year's meetings?
You all did that in June. You approved them, you were emailed the dates. They're on the website. Oh, yeah, they've been on the website
Okay.
since June. Yes, thank
I
you.
want to try to make some hotel reservations here in
Yes,
this town.
that sounds wonderful.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So before I forget, just to make sure that we've got everyone participating online, early on, we mentioned that, of course, the meetings are always open to the public. Anyone that is participating through Teams, I don't think I see any raised hands. Anyone that is on Teams and not here in person that has any questions from the items addressed during the meeting or on the agenda, please let us know. Same with anyone that is here in person. We will be more than happy to let everyone have an opportunity to speak. Okay, so Ms. Russell, I don't have any other board business to take care of. I'll leave it up to you and the members if you have anything else.
All right. Do you all have anything else? I'll need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Thank you so much.
Thank you, members, and happy holidays to everyone.
Holidays.